So in my last video, I was solving a problem where I used the quadratic equation, and I realized that I didn't really explain that. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the quadratic equation. The quadratic equation is y equals a times x squared plus b times x plus c. This is the quadratic equation, and a can be any number except 0. The reason why it can't be 0 is because if it were to be 0, then this x squared would cancel out with the 0, and it would just be left with bx plus c, which is a linear equation. However, b can be any number, negative, positive, 0, and same with c. A can still be a negative or positive number. Now let's take a simple problem. Y equals x squared. In this equation, c is 0, and b is 0, and a is 1. In this equation, the graph for it would look something like this. And if this were to be, and if a were to be negative, then it would be negative x squared, and then the graph would look like this. Around something like that. I'm not very good at drawing. And this point here is called the vertex. The vertex, like for example, if the graph looks something like this, this would still be the vertex. This would be the vertex. This would be the vertex. And this is called the axis of symmetry. It is directly parallel to the y-axis, and as you can see, it goes over the vertex. Another important thing to know with quadratic equation is roots. Roots, you can only have 2 roots in a quadratic equation, and let's say if I drew another graph here, a quadratic graph. These 2 points here, where it intersects the x-axis, those are called the roots, or the solutions. Now, the equation I'm going to use as an example is going to be x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Now, to solve this, we need to first find the 2 numbers that if you multiply, you should get the product of A and C. And let's write that down. So blank times blank equals A times C, and A in this case is going to be 1, and this is going to be 6. So it's going to be 6, and blank plus blank, it's going to equal to b, and b in this case is negative 5. Negative 5. So now we have to find 2 numbers that if you multiply, we'll get a 6, and if you add, we'll get a negative 5. Okay, so the 2 numbers that I saw work was negative 3 and negative 2. Because if you multiply it, you'll get positive 6. And if you add them together, you should get, oops, my bad. And if you add them together, you should get negative 5. So I'm going to replace b, in this case, with negative 3x minus 2x. So let's just do that. X squared minus 3x minus 2x plus 6 equals 0. Now I'm going to factor out an x from here, so let's do that. I'll get x on the outside, x on the inside, and I'd get minus 3 here. Now let's do the same thing here. I'm going to take minus 2 out, and on the inside I'll have x minus 3. And now, over here, I can see that both of these brackets are the same. So I'm going to factor those out. So I'll get x minus 3. And remaining, I have x minus 2. Now, in this case, what I need to have one of these brackets equal to 0. So either x over here has to be positive 3 to equal 0, or x has to equal positive 2 to equal 0. And in this case, our solution, as I said, is going to be x equals 3 and x equals 2. Alright, so let's move on to the next problem. 6x squared plus 11x minus 35 equals to 0. Now, let's see. In this equation, a is equal to 6 right here, b is equal to 11 right here, and c is equal to negative 35. Okay, so to find the roots, first we have to find out two numbers that where their product is equal to a times c. So two numbers, which if we multiply, their product should be a times c, and a times c is 6 times negative 35, so I'm just going to do that really quick. 6 times 5, 30. 6 times 3, 18 plus 3, 21. Okay, so I have negative 210. And two numbers that I can think of. And I also need to find two numbers, which those same two numbers, if I add, I should be able to get b. And b in this case is 11. So let me think. Okay, so the two numbers that I got is 21 times negative 10. So 21 times negative 10, which will give me negative. And if I multiply these two numbers, I'll get negative 210. And if I add them, I'll get 11. Okay, so now let's replace this b with 21 minus 10. So let's do 6x squared plus 21 minus, I forgot to write the x's here, so it's 21x minus 10x minus 35 equals 0. Now I'm going to factor out from here. Let's see. I can factor out 3x from here. So 3x goes on the outside. On the inside, I get 2x plus 7. And then something I could take out from here is negative 5. So negative 5. On the inside, I'll have 2x plus 7 equals 0. Now I see I have 2x plus 7 here and here, so I'm going to factor that out. 2x plus 7 on the outside. And here, what I've left is 3x minus 5. This 5 equals 0. Now, let's find out the answer to this root first. So, 2x plus 7 equals 0. And the reason why I'm making it 0 is because if I multiply 0 by anything, it'll end up being 0. So either one of these has to be 0. So first I'm going to start off with this one. And 2x plus 7 equals 0, which means 2x equals negative 7, which means x equals negative 3.5. Now let's do our next one. 3x minus 5 equals 0. So 3x minus 5 equals 0. This means 3x equals 5. And this means x equals to 5 by 3. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much. Goodbye.